Thistle Greenbottle has rested. He found shelter yesterday, but during the night it has been pouring down. It doesn't rain anymore right now, but the ground conditions are now muddy. So, when Thistle Greenbottle decides to travel back whence he came, into this hill hex, not only does he have to pay one more movement point, because it's muddy, he also needs to test his intelligence to see if his guiding skills are good enough. That is, he has to test his intelligence to see if he can find the safest route and avoid any hazards. When it is muddy, it is slippery. So he tests his intelligence to see if he can find the safest route, and he fails miserably. In other words, now he has to test his dexterity to see if he can stay on his feet when he enters this area where it is slippery. We test his dexterity, and he succeeds. He avoided falling. Had he failed, he would have risked taking 0 to 3 damage and become soaking wet because he fallen into a muddy puddle or something. On a critical failure, he would have fallen longer or farther and taken more damage. Of course, if you're in a mountain hex, you risk falling very, very far. We also, of course, need to test for random encounters when he enters a new hex. He doesn't encounter anything. He continues onwards into the bog hex, and again, he has to pay one more movement point than normal because it's slippery. Now he tests if he can find a safe and fast route, and he can indeed. And this means he doesn't have to test his dexterity for the hazard slippery, because he found a non-slippery way, a safe way. Random encounters, nothing. And we test for malaria, because he entered a bog hex. And since I am completely unable to cast a 1, we pretend that he cast a 1, so that we can see what happens when that happens. And on a 1, in a bog hex, he has to test his intelligence to see if he avoided the disease-infected mosquitoes and such. And he succeeds. Had he failed, he would have been forced to test his constitution to see if he caught any diseases and became sick. He then uses his last few movement points to travel into this hill hex. And I may add that sneaking or tracking also adds cost to the movement points when you enter a new hex. But halflings actually don't pay any extra movement points when sneaking, because it kind of goes natural for them, and they are a little bit sneaky by nature. First we test for random encounter, then we test for his guiding skills to see if he can find the safest route, and he does. The different land hazards that the characters might need to test for are caused by different temperatures or wind factors, or if there's a fog or rain, and ground conditions. In underground travel, the hazards have a nature of their own, and for sea travel you have to wait for the expert rules, where the sea hazards will appear. Like I mentioned yesterday, certain character rules has a negative adjustment to the die when pathfinding in different types of terrain. And of course, as you know, a negative adjustment is good because you aim to roll low when you test your ability scores. Now let's pretend that he actually did encounter something. He cast a 1 when entering this hex. So, having fudged the die so that you can see how an encounter works, the next time we will see exactly what he encounters. Until then, bye bye.